And we are live.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Gathering ParaCast. My name is Heidi.
And I'm Stephanie, and we are on location in windy Minneapolis.
We are. This is the new Windy City.
This is the new windy city.
Chicago, step aside.
Yeah,
We're it now.
we are for
For the 18th year in a row now, it seems like. Guys, we're not gathered around we're around a metaphysical table. We're not around an actual table because, yes, we are in glorious Minneapolis today.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do a little history / paranormal again, as we've done the last few weeks, right?
Yeah.
So thanks all for being here with us and taking a little trip down into Minneapolis with us. We've got some cool stuff to talk about tonight.
We do have some cool stuff. But first, we want to pull a card, and we'll tell you why we think this is the perfect card for tonight,
right
at the end part of our show.
Yeah, so we're doing it a little differently. So I brought this deck down. It's called the Spirit Animal Pocket Oracle because I wanted a little travel deck for our on location stuff. And so I shuffled them before I left the studio and came down here, opened it up, took out the deck, and this card fell out into my hands. And it is, so I said, well, this is the one we have to use tonight because of what we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
And it is Moth Spirit. And the message is surrender now.
Surrender now.
Like you can't do anything about this. So here's the card. You guys can see it. And it's got a moth with red and orange, and it's just a beautiful card. And
It is. Gorgeous.
Yeah, and it's number 39 if you're into numerology. But it was weird that one was like right there. For us, right?
I know. It was very cool.
So anyway, we'll be using this deck on location a little bit more because it's kind of cool.
So we are actually on the Stone Arch Bridge, which at one time was a railroad bridge only.
Yep.
It's been here since, I think it was built in 1860 something. Don't quote me on that, but sometime in the 1800s when sawmill was the big booming industry of Minneapolis. Now it's a walking bridge because the trains don't, and it has been for quite some time.
It was decommissioned as a train bridge in the late 1970s.
Okay.
And it was abandoned. So basically why they built this bridge is, I guess, the train situation down here with the lumber and the flour and passengers was a hot mess.
Yep.
And so they asked James J. Hill to build a bridge that would unite the two sides of Minneapolis over the river and streamline the process of getting people and cargo to and from. And it was so it was used up until late 1970s.
Yeah.
And again, it was abandoned, and just in the last couple of decades, it's been since the 90s, I think.
Yeah.
It was revitalized and turned into a walking bridge.
Absolutely, because I remember walking over here when it was still it was abandoned, but there were tracks. And Jerry and I actually walked across here one time, way back when. Boy, were we crazy, because these weren't here. So it was just a railroad bridge, right?
Yeah, with no sides. And
we were young.
Risk takers.
Young and dumb. Although I probably would do it again.
I'm sure you would.
Oh my gosh. But behind us, so here's the thing. Behind us are the beautiful St. Anthony Falls. And they're the Mississippi River Falls. They are girded by a concrete apron now. And I think Jason has a picture of what they looked like originally before industry moved in and decided they had to put the concrete apron on them. They look very different now. They had dug tunnels. This was interesting. So I was doing a little research this week, and they dug tunnels under these islands that are right over this way. And the tunnels were collapsing, creating a vortex, a maelstrom, whatever you want to call it. It was a big thing in the middle of the river, so they had to do something to prevent the falls from completely disintegrating. And they harnessed the power to run the mills. So that's when the Corps of Engineers came in. They put that apron over the falls, which is quite interesting, actually. But I always wondered what they looked like first, and I was so happy I found the picture that Jason just showed of their natural beauty. And there is a movement underway to take back the Mississippi and take down all the concrete. It's no longer used. the locks that are on, there's one here, and lock number 1 is up there and no longer used. So why not? Let's breach the dams and get it over with. Because there's a dam just further upstream as well. So that's the story of St. Anthony Falls.
And it's, it definitely was a hub back in the day with all of the industry here and all of the people. And of course, it's Mississippi. So you have, people, settlers, people from before settlers and native peoples. This was a really important waterway.
Absolutely.
So it has a lot of energy down here from just generations and generations of people.
There's a lot of life that was lived here that still is being lived here. And there's a lot of death that has happened right here in this area.
Even just thinking of with the logging and all the logs that would be in the water and loaded the boats that would fall in the water and people that would get trapped in between as they're trying to get this stuff. And I mean, it's just that alone, I'm sure was cause of many deaths. So,
for sure.
It's a lot of energy.
There's a lot of energy down here. And one in specific. So I know when we were at the other bridge a couple weeks ago, we talked about how my paranormal group, SIM, in its infancy, did a lot of work down there. And you, in your infancy, did a lot of work right here on the Stone Arch Bridge. And one of the stories I came across, because it's, for anyone who investigates, there's all kinds of spirits down here. Like we just talked about, there's energies that are crazy. But specifically, they talk about this white lady ghost here. And it's a local legend. Sightings often describe her as a spectral figure in white wandering near this bridge that we're on. I'm guessing it's one of these islands, perhaps, that she was on. Many believe that she is linked to tragic events, and it is suggested that she may be searching for someone or something. Now, you have seen it, actually, in your investigation.
Yeah, I did. We were on a little bridgeway that goes out into the water near here, and just out of Father Hennepin Park, and which is right here. And so that's a different picture. I'm going to get to that one next. I'll get to that one second. That's the second story. So the first story, the one that's white lady, I didn't even know there was a white lady. I wasn't even prepared to talk about this until Stephanie whipped this out, and I'm like, white lady, I saw her. So we were doing this investigation, and I saw this woman, and actually she walked over the river.
That's so cool.
So she was on ice. When it was frozen.
It was frozen.
And so she walked out, and she was looking down into the water, and she was just in despair. So I think maybe someone was trapped, fell into the ice.
Could be.
Or because she was able to walk on the water. And so I wonder if someone fell into the ice, whether it was a family member or something. And so she was just she's looking. And I did not know that this was a thing until you just said it.
I know.
So I was like, oh my gosh, that's
Isn't
so
that
crazy.
wild?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that is cool. So apparently many people have seen her. I think my crew needs to come down here at some point and see if we can see her too. But I mean, a lot of people do die in the rivers and the lakes because they go out on the ice, they fall through. Now, if it's a lake, now the Mississippi runs so fast that I can't imagine the body stayed there long. But in a lake, they get trapped under the ice. And I mean, I've heard bone-chilling stories about how in the old days they would see their faces under the ice, and there was nothing they could do until spring, so
if you fall through, I've heard, this has not happened to me, thankfully, but it's very hard to find your opening that you fell through. And if it's really cold, it would be if it's frozen. So you're not going to have the capacity and the understanding how to, and your body's probably starting to shut down immediately. So you don't have a lot of time, and especially if you're in a river, that current is going to take you underneath.
And this one is really fast here. It's very dangerous. The Mississippi is right here. So, I can only imagine.
Okay, so I have another story, though.
Yeah.
And it goes with that picture. So we were investigating down here, and I was, this goes to a story that we're going to talk about at the end of this show. But there was a tragic event here. And so we came down to see if anybody needed help spiritually, right? If there was any spirits or any other energies that needed help. So we were investigating, and I ended up talking to a being through multiple pieces of equipment and divining rods. It was clearly, we were getting answers. but I couldn't understand who we were talking to. And finally, I asked, "Are we talking to an angel?" And everything lit up yes. And I went, "Oh my gosh, okay." And we found out that this was an angel for this area. So like this angel takes care of like the animals, tries to take care of the people, you know, as much as they can. So I had so many people with me. We were doing this, and you know, it's a good group of people. We get done, and I started snapping photos with my digital camera. And I didn't look at the photos. It was just like, wow, okay, this is super cool. And the next day, I posted a photo that I saw an orb in it, and one of the people that saw the photo said, "Well, what's that thing over there?" And so he enlarged it and sent it back to me. And now, Jason, if you could post that there, this one, that was the photo that I took right after we had this discussion with a being that said it was an angel. Crazy. That was in my photo.
That's cool.
Wow. That's
I know,
awesome.
right? Isn't that amazing? And I asked, does the angel leave? No. They stay here, and they're a guardian for this place. And they will help beings who are stuck here or get hurt here. They'll take care of the animals here. Like, that's this being that does that in this area.
Yeah.
Like, right? That's so, like,
I've seen that picture before, and I've never
asked about
the story.
Yeah, it's on the homepage of my website. That's so cool. I keep it on there because it was really profound.
Yeah. Well, that's very cool. So I think the next thing we want to talk about is the history of this river. And, you know, back before the fur traders came along, before Father Hennepin came and saw the falls, when the Dakota Indians actually were prevalent in this part of the state, they were kind of pushed out by the Ojibwa people. But they considered this river was very important to them, and the islands were very sacred. And there was one island, and we're going to just take a minute to flip the screen. But there was an island over here that is no more, that was called Spirit Island. And this island was, there we go. See, there's the picture of it. They had already started dismantling it, I believe, in that photo. But it was very sacred to the Ojibwa, to the Dakota people. And women used to have babies there. They would go there to do that. They had ceremony. It was just an amazing place. And they tore it down. Actually, the limestone, they mined the limestone. In fact, they think some of the limestone on this bridge is from Spirit Island. Some of the limestone on some of these Pillsbury, the Pillsbury flour mill, they think could have been from that island. So she lives on, but the only thing left of her literally is the jetty that comes out of the lock. So should we just hop over to the other side? We're going to flip.
Yep. Grab all right, here we go.
So we're going to go over here. So can you see? Here we go. So this little jetty here is all that's left of what once was an amazing island, very sacred. So yeah, and you know what's really cool is that Mayor Fry, there's a group of Dakota people that have an organization. And I didn't get the name of that organization, but they've been working with local government to gain control to get this land back. And Mayor Fry a couple of weeks ago had a big press conference, and they are getting back some of this land over here by the locks. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with it. I think it's going to be really awesome. And then, okay, for our final little thing that we're going to talk about.
You think I need to move the camera one more time?
We do. One more time.
It's going to turn this way.
Yep. So that bridge is the 35W bridge. In 2007, so it's been, 18 years ago, the bridge collapsed and just obliterated. 13 people died. Many were hurt. Many were injured. It was rush hour. I was on that bridge like an hour before it went down because I work right over there in downtown Minneapolis. And I remember thinking to myself, they had half of the bridge closed off for construction. And on that half of the bridge were all these ginormous construction equipment, right? Heavy, 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 big. And then the other half had all of the traffic. And I was on a bus. Many of us at that time took mass transit to work. And I was on a double-decker bus. And I remember it was like a parking lot. It was stop and go. It was like just, and I remember looking down at the bridge and I thought, this bridge can't handle this. Something bad is going to happen. I was so thankful to get to the other side. And then about an hour later, I was at home and my phone started ringing. First it was Jerry. Are you okay? Yeah, why? The 35W bridge went down. My brother from Kansas had already heard this. Steph, are you okay? Where are you? I said, yeah, I was on the bridge though, and it was unbelievable. So what happened? I think, it's just crazy, right? But I knew it was going to happen. Right? It was the intuitiveness in me that said, this can't handle this. This is something that's going to happen today. And like I said, so happy to get off the other side. But that is the new 35W bridge. Mm-hmm. And, if you go underneath there is a lot of energy, a lot of fear energy. There's a lot of it grabs your heart. It really does. Okay, a couple interesting facts about this bridge. So the old bridge that collapsed was built in 1967, which is the same year that the Silver Bridge in Ohio went down. And remember, that was foretold by the Mothman. So we think. So it is said that there were some reports about people seeing a creature, a big winged creature, before 35W bridge went down. But the interesting thing is, none of those reports came in until long after that bridge went down. Right. So are they real or not? The thing is, the Mothman Prophecy is the movie that everybody knew about the Mothman, had come out 5 years prior. And so I don't know if we can really think that those are true stories or not, but it's kind of interesting to think about.
It is. There's definitely a craze around Mothman sightings, but would it have been more credible if it was ahead of time? Sure. But then how do you know if it's a prediction? Like, what is that for, right? The Mothman, showing up and.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you don't know.
We don't know, but
kind of interesting.
But the new bridge is cool. However, Jerry came with me on Sunday because this bridge is under construction too on that, and we didn't even know if we could do this. But we came down here and we went under the bridge, and I kept looking up at the underneath, thinking, we got to get out of here. And I think it's a good, strong bridge. Yeah, it's a good, strong bridge. And right before the bridge, on the other side of the steam power plant, is where the eagle's nest is. And I was just over and saw, I keep talking about my eagles that I look at when I'm on the 35W bridge. Well, that's where she is. And she is gorgeous.
So the whole thing about the card in the beginning, though, that's why we were like, what? Because I opened the deck, pulled out the cards. I hadn't looked at them when I shuffled, and the card that fell out was the moth. And I went, okay, that's our card for today. Yeah, moth. And it's talking about surrender, which means you can't do anything. So that's kind of like the Mothman. If you're talking about Mothman showing up and saying, hey, fair warning, you can't do anything, but be prepared. Like, be prepared as best you can. But something is coming, and if we look at it that way, and it could be a being that's trying to help after, the fact too, or give fair warning or create the chaos. We don't know.
Yes.
But I thought that was cool that moth came up while we were here.
Oh, absolutely. And, just so everybody knows, we always ask people for ideas and what you would like to see us go to. And we had talked about coming to the bridge, but Jerry was the one who suggested talking about the 35W bridge, and the lady in white, I didn't know anything about her either. Okay. So kudos to Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
And you know what?
The tip.
Yes. And so if you have any ideas about where you'd like us to go, and you're in Minnesota, do let us know.
Yeah. It has to be drivable.
It has to be drivable. But we do love to show off our beautiful state.
Yeah.
Minneapolis is a gorgeous city, you know.
And how we can link it to, you know, paranormal or something interesting like that, or some history.
Yeah.
That's great. So yeah, if you have anything you want us to look at or cover, let us know, get a hold of us, and we will definitely check it out.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's it.
Yeah.
We talked about the 3 things we were going to talk about, and the 4 things. Of course, we could talk for hours about this part of town, because
We're going to get blown off the bridge.
We are going to get getting stronger as we talk. So
Sure is.
anyway, well, be with us next week for the
It's the paranormal smorgasbord next week, so we might be inside for that. We'll see. We'll see, because it's super windy. It's like forever. But yeah, so we're excited to have that. So send us any topics, or get your topics ready and put them in the chat room when we start the show. And yeah, thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
And thank you, Jason, for producing, and Cryptovinia TV for hosting.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, good night. Thank you.
Good night.